Hi guys, it's Mrs. B. I'm going to be teaching you the next unit that we're talking about, and it's going to be all about circles. Now, I'm not as fancy and high-tech as Mrs. Mull, but I think I'm going to get my point across just fine, like we would in class. So the first thing that we have to do when we talk about circles is talk about some parts of a circle. Now, you may know a lot of these terms, but I want to make sure you know the exact definitions and what they look like in the circle. So the first thing we want to talk about is the definition of a circle. We all know what a circle looks like, but the definition of a circle is a set of points that are the same distance away from a center point. So for a circle, it's a set of points the same distance from the center point. And if we look at our circle, point A would be the center point. It's the exact middle of the circle. All right, so the center is point A. All right. All right, what a radius does is it extends from the center of the circle to anywhere on the circle. So I'm going to do my radius in red, and I'm going to make my radius just look like this. It's a segment. I'm going to call it segment AB. So radius is a segment from the center to the edge of the circle. And we call that segment AB with our segment bar on top. A chord. What a chord is it's a segment that extends from one point on the circle to somewhere on the other side of the circle. And let's name that CD. So a segment that touches the circle twice. Now, a diameter is actually a special type of chord. A diameter is a segment that extends and it touches 2 points on the circle, but it actually has to go through the center point. So I'm going to draw my diameter like this, and we will call that EF. Oh, I made that EE. Let's make that EF. So the diameter is a segment that goes through the center and touches the circle twice. And let's call that EF with our segment bar. I just noticed I didn't name my chord CD. And for diameter, I also want to put it's a special chord because it goes through the center point. One other thing I want to point out about a radius and a diameter. If we look at the diameter, notice that this orange segment actually made up of two radii. Radii is the plural of radius. So EA and AF are actually radii. So a diameter is actually 2 times the radius. That gives you your diameter. A radius is actually half of the diameter. All right, I'm going to kind of bubble those things for us. A radius is half of the diameter. And the diameter is 2 times the radius. Okay, so let's take a look at a few examples right here. In our picture here, if QV is 8, all right, what is the diameter of circle Q? Well, QV is a radius, and we just said a diameter is 2 times the radius. So all we would have to do is take 8 times 2, and we get 16. So the diameter would be 16, and let's use our units, inches. All right, to get the diameter, you just have to double the radius. If TU is 14, so if the whole length here is 14, what is the radius of circle Q? Well, we just have to take half to figure out what the radius is. So 14 divided by 2 is 7, and feet. Keep your units. QT is 11 meters. So QT is 11 meters. So let me relabel 11 meters. What is QU? Well, QT is a radius. Is QU a radius? Sure is. So it's 11 meters as well. All right, let's talk about circumference. So what circumference really is, if we look at this example, circumference really is the distance around the circle. This is what circumference is. Let's write it right here. Circumference is the distance around the circle. It's kind of like perimeter. We use perimeter when we talk about things like squares, rectangles, triangles, things with straight sides. When we talk about circles, if we want to know the perimeter around it, it's called circumference. Now, when we talk about circumference, there's a formula that we can use. Circumference equals, so there's actually two formulas. Circumference equals either pi times the diameter, or you may see it written as circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. Both of these mean the same exact thing. 2 times the radius is really your diameter. All right. On your calculators, there is a pi button. When we do our calculations, we want you to use the pi key. Pi really is 3.14, but that's just a rounded number. And to be accurate, we want you to actually use the pi button, which will calculate all of the value. Now, it's up to you which you want to use. Personally, I end up using this one a lot, but it doesn't matter. Either one is going to get you the same answer. So, if you don't have your calculators out, now's the time to pause the video and get them out. Let's take a look at A. If the diameter of a circle is 15, what is the circumference? So they're telling us what the diameter is. So if I look at my formula here that I bubbled, I like to write my formula out a little bit. Circumference equals pi times diameter. Let's plug it in. Circumference equals pi times the diameter is 15. I might jot that down over here. D equals 15. All right, I can plug that in. Circumference equals, so if I take my calculator, all right, pi times 15, or we can do 15. Oh, let me turn it on. 15 times pi, enter. So we get a nice long decimal there. All right. 15 times pi gives me 47.12. And we didn't talk anything about units here. So 47.12, I'm just going to put a U for units. You may see us keeping it in terms of pi. If we say to keep your answer in terms of pi, your answer would be 15 pi. All right, I'm going to bubble those a little bit just so that you know these are the way that we may ask you to keep your answer. This is a rounded answer. This is an exact measure, 15 pi. When we talk about circumference, just like perimeter, the units are always just regular units. It could be centimeters, it could be inches. Only when we talk about area will our answers be squared. All right, in letter B, if the radius is 4 in a circle, what is the circumference? Well, just like over here, I jotted down that my diameter was 15. Well, over here, my radius is 4. If I know my radius is 4, what is my diameter? My diameter, double it, is 8. Now I can use the same formula that I did over here. Circumference equals pi times diameter. So the circumference equals pi times 8. I'm going to do both answers again. Circumference equals, if I do it on my calculator, I've got 8 times pi, which is 25.13. I didn't have any, I did have units. We'll say that they're inches. If I want my exact answer, my circumference would be 8 pi. All right, these are your exact answers. Letter C, find the diameter and radius of a circle to the nearest hundredth if the circumference equals 106.4 centimeters. Now, this is one that you're really going to want to take a look at. This is one where we want to work backwards. Write that, work backwards. All right, these are the ones people tend to get stuck on because they give you they actually give you the answer and they want you to figure out what the parts are. So when you work backwards, write your formula first. So I'm going to write my formula. C equals pi times diameter. Well, that's one of the things I want to find. I want to find the diameter. Don't worry about the radius because once I find my diameter, I'll be able to figure that out. So now we plug in, write formula, and then plug in. So circumference was 106.4 centimeters. All right, actually we don't need that centimeters in there. Let's take that out. Equals pi times diameter. We want to figure out what the diameter is. So these are being multiplied. Let's do the opposite and let's divide by pi. So if I have 106.4 equals pi times my diameter, I want diameter by itself, divide by pi, divide by pi. These cancel out, and I'm left with my diameter. Do this on your calculator. What's 106.4 divided by pi? 33.87, and we're talking in centimeters. That is your answer. So when you work backwards, make sure you have all of this written down. Okay? All right, what I want to show you, we're going to skip number 3 at the bottom here. All right? We're skipping that one. What I want to show you on the next page is at the bottom. Let's look at 12 and 13. 12 and 13, find the exact circumference of each circle using the given inscribed or circumscribed polygon. If we look at number 12 shows us a right triangle. We have a right triangle. We know that this is our diameter. All right, so they're giving us that this is 7, this is 24. The diameter is actually our hypotenuse. So for number 12, we're actually going to have to use Pythagorean theorem first to figure out what our diameter is. Then from that, we'll be able to figure out what our radius is. So 7 squared plus 24 squared equals our hypotenuse, which I'm going to call C. So 7 squared is 49. 24 squared is 576. And that's going to equal our hypotenuse. So 49 plus 576 is 625. Take the square root. .25 equals C. That's your hypotenuse. What we found was the entire length right here is 25. But we do want to know our diameter if we're figuring out our circumference. So 25 is actually the diameter. So the hypotenuse is 25. Well, if we want to find our circumference, we know the formula is circumference equals pi times diameter. Circumference equals pi d. Circumference equals pi times 25. 25 times pi gives us 78.54. 78.54 centimeters. Use this example to make sure that you can do number 3 when I give you that assignment.